Mama Parker fighting for you and me. Patients need what the doctor has said. Safe access now to the meds they've read. One love, one fight, don't you delay. Rights for the people in every way. We stand tall, we won't back down. Safe access is the anthem sound. Safe access is the anthem sound. The struggle is real, so is the fire for health and hope. We climb higher, stand with the ones who can't stand alone. For every voice deserves a throne.
This production is brought to you by DHBN, WTHC Radio, and Stoner Records.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to our weekly Patients for Safe Access podcast. My guest this week is the beautiful Jasmine Thomas, N'Kiyla Jazmine Thomas. She's over here to, I think it's my left for you guys. So, Jasmine, I'm so excited to have you today. You are a grassroots candidate out of Oklahoma who is running against Mark Wayne Mullen. Thank you. As a Democrat. It's gonna be an uphill battle, but man, girl, you are kicking it. You are doing so good. I see your stuff everywhere. Lots of people reached out to me when they found out that I was going to be interviewing you and wanted to share their comments and stuff. So I want to give you the floor for a minute to kind of tell us a little bit about your platform for running for U.S. Senate.
Yes. Thank you for having me, by the way, because I'm a champion, of course, for safe access, especially for medical and recreational marijuana. So I'm super excited to even be here. But my name is N'Kiyla Jazmine Thomas. I tell people all the time that the only people that call me N'Kiyla are bill collectors and people who don't know me. So my friends call me Jasmine, and you're all my friends, so please call me Jasmine. And I am Black, white, and Native American. My mother's Black and Native, and my dad is white. And I'm a nurse, military spouse, active duty military spouse, and I am a autism mom. So I am a plethora of representations. I say plethora. I love that's been my word of the week. I'm a representation, and I am the person that is I guess, checks all of the check boxes. And I have been a user of marijuana in past life. And I don't care if anybody can use any oppositional research against me on this one, but I have. I mean, we all have. We've all dabbled in it, or we've all had to use it for medical reasons. And at one point, especially when Oklahoma had gotten their medical marijuana passed, their legislation passed, I was a recipient of that because I had really bad anxiety. I had really bad insomnia. I was dealing with a lot of things, depression, and it was something that my doctors really wanted me to give a try. And so I was like, you know what? What's the worst? If it's legalized here, and I watched it get legalized in Oklahoma, signed a petition myself. I feel like I probably signed it 8 times. I'm just joking. I didn't. But oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you said 1 second. I'm sorry. But no, yes, once, just once. I signed it just once. But so I am an advocate for it. I'm a champion for it because it's something that I've personally had, it had impacted my life. So once people started asking me, what do I feel about it? And, what's my take on the marijuana industry? I told them that I thought it was a good thing. I said, sometimes it made me, feel a little off and but I was like, you know what? Maybe I was just overdoing it at one point in time. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Too many milligrams.
Oh yeah. Especially with I'm not the tiniest person, but I think that, as petite as I was at that time, I think that I was just going a little bit overboard, or I just wasn't safely medicating correctly. And that's why this podcast was super important to me. Because if I would have had someone who was giving me more education, giving me more research behind medical marijuana, or, actually just not just saying, here's this card, dang, and gave me a little bit more abstract, you know, opinions and research on it, in actually dosaging, then I probably wouldn't have had times where I wouldn't say tripped out. I don't want to say that. Well, I got a little
Or medication
paranoid.
or
Yes.
elevated. Yeah.
Yes. And so what you guys are doing is incredible because one, it's giving the information out to the collective, and it's also destigmatizing the marijuana industry, or not industry, but marijuana in general. But also tackling the hard things that comes along with the marijuana industry as well.
I you almost made me cry right there. I'm not gonna lie, because hang on.
It's okay. Take your time.
As we know, you're running against Mark Wayne Mullen,
Oh
and
yeah, I forgot to say that. I just wanted to get right deep into our conversation. That I'm so sorry.
that's okay, because last year Charles and I actually traveled to Washington D.C. We traveled with an organization called Americans for Safe Access. That's what kind of helped form the idea for Patients for Safe Access. And when we went out there, we went for a day of lobbying and a day of advocacy. And we, hit up his office in advance. Hey, we're coming to town. We want a meeting. Can we do this? Email back and forth. Yes, we can do it, but we can only do it on this day, which was the day before our summit, right? So we spent the extra funds to go a day early so that we could get up there to DC to make this meeting. You know what I mean? And we got there to his office and he literally canceled the meeting on site. So we wasted all of our resources and abilities to make that meeting. And there was also a preschool group there who was scheduled for a meeting in person with him who got canceled as well. I can understand canceling us. We're marijuana. You're a federal senator. You don't want to deal with it, whatever. But the preschool group, really, come on now. He states all the time how if an Oklahoman takes their time and their effort and their resources to come and see him, that he will meet with them. But he lied and never even called back to discuss it. You know what I mean? So I am wholeheartedly, what you just said right there, you need to be in that seat. We need you there. This community needs you there. So I will say that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the enthusiasm of in the support for my candidacy when it comes to this. But this is why I always stay pretty transparent with everything that I've done in my life or any experiences that I've had, so I can share that within this candidacy to show people that I'm a real person. So
Mm-hmm.
I've done this, I've tried that. And I'm not gonna say when I say I've done this, I've tried that, I've never gotten as far as, getting off from, medical marijuana. But
Right.
so I just want to make that fairly clear. But I've I know what it's like to be in these positions. And I've had friends that have been incarcerated because of these, or incarcerated, or they have gotten fines, misdemeanors, even felonies for something that's natural.
Mm-hmm.
It's grown. It's not made in the lab, and so there needs to be a lot of reform when it comes to the marijuana industry, and also how much you should carry, and just the whole nine. There should be no reason why someone should be going to jail because they are carrying a plant.
Mm-hmm. And there's no reason that people should be restricted from employment for being a
Exactly.
consumer. Like in DC, where you'll be, you know what I mean? I believe there's like a 5-year rule up there where if you've consumed cannabis in the past 5 years, you will not be considered for that position. And that came from a buddy of mine that he's got deep connections in DC, and so that's crazy. They're the hub of where everything is happening, and cannabis is legal there. You know what I mean? So,
And it's legal to an extent. So they don't even have dispensaries there. They're able to like plant or grow their own at home. They're able to offer their friends the whatever they grow. They're able to have the conversations about them, but there's no dispensaries. There's nothing that they can legally go out and just get a pre-roll from. There's nowhere that they can actually kind of socialize with it. Whereas in Oklahoma, we have lounges.
You
there's
do.
there's dispensaries that, oh yes, there's dispensaries that have lounges where you can sit and you can, and I don't know if this is unprofessional of me to say, but I'm just a real person here. I'm not a career politician, so I'm going into this fully as a person for the people. So when I say this, they can't blow down, like out in public, or they can't blow down with their friends in a safe environment. So, with that being said, it's like, how legal is it in DC? It feels like it's more legal in a red state than it is in a in a blue area, in a
Mhm,
blue district.
mhm.
So, they have it's legal, yes, but at the same time, it's to what extent is it legal?
You have the access to it, but not actually access to it. Yeah.
Yes.
In other words, you can possess, but not access to. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly. So your platform, you speak about healthcare, infrastructure, agriculture, education, and civil rights. And so when we dive into those, we'll tackle that. Healthcare wise, I want to hold off on that one until we come back from the break because I'm going to bring up Heather's story. Okay.
Okay.
And but if you want to talk real quick about something infrastructure or agricultural, one of the other platform pieces, that would be great.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to go back and kind of backpedal back from
Mhm.
where you had said that you had went to go meet with Mullen and the kindergarten. And I just want to genuinely say I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you felt so neglected by the people that are supposed to represent you, that you have gotten a bitter taste about, who is representing you, for lack of better words of what I'm saying, because there should have been no reason. It's inexcusable that you made this appointment, that you flew out early. And from my knowledge, and if you don't mind me saying, you paid an extra $500 in order for you to get a early plane ticket to go out there and meet him. There should have been no reason that he shouldn't have made the time to come out and sit down with you. That's one thing about my candidacy that is going to be different. And this is not me selling a dream or selling myself for a vote. This is just, I do unto others as I would want to be done to me. There's not going to be a time that my constituents do not hear from me. If they don't hear from me, then they know that I'm out there fighting the good fight. I'm not out here just lollygagging or trying to fight Teamsters, or, like riding in my big jacked up truck saying that I don't wear seatbelts. No, like, we should, like, right there just shows me that he has a lack of safety and lack of critical thinking skills, period. Because if you were going there to talk about safety of a safe patient safety and safe access to marijuana, and then he's not wanting to wear seatbelts, it's just like he doesn't care about safety at all. So therefore, he didn't care how you got there. He didn't care how far you had to get here. He don't care what you had to go through to get there. And that's the lack
Agree.
of empathy that we have, and that's what we don't need. And so I'm genuinely sorry that you had to face such a idiotic circumstance with an idiotic person. I apologize.
Well, I appreciate that. We did end up meeting with staffers, and I think I was even
It's
more
not the
frustrated.
same.
I was more frustrated there because when we were trying to approach them about contaminated products, that the consumers were consuming, it was basically told to us, being as it was federally illegal, still there was nothing that the senator was going to be interested in hearing, basically. And that was Mullen's office and Langford's office, both that said that.
That's terrible. And I just kind of want to also say that over the summer, while I was campaigning, I did go out and meet with a distributor. And
Mhm.
we sat down, and the most kindest woman ever. Well, and I maybe I shouldn't assume the pronouns, but I do believe that she does go by, because when I asked her, I do believe, now that I think about it, kindest woman ever. And I mean, she taught me, it was a lot of information, but she went through A to Z with what's going on within the medical marijuana business right now and the OMMA. I mean, it was so much information that I was like, do you have a piece of paper? Because I was coming here to check this out. I mean, I knew that I was coming here to get information, but this is so descriptive and yes, it's a lot that's wrong with this. And there's no reason that this industry should be as unregulated, dysfunctional, and also very, very, very dangerous at this point. So,
I
oh,
couldn't,
go ahead. I'm sorry. If you have a question,
I
go
could
ahead.
not agree more.
Okay. So as I sat down with her and I was talking, and one of her biggest things was is that the medical marijuana business, the OMMA, is so disorganized, and it does not actually have it doesn't have like a doctor that's on staff. It doesn't have people who's actually studied it, like researchers on the board. They don't have like an outsider person. They actually have people who don't pay it much mind. And that's a lack of better words on both of that. Like, well, she had better words for it, but it's a lack of better words on my end. And you can correct me at any point, by the way, because I may, I may tell the story wrong. And you have more information on that. But I want everyone to have truthful facts behind the medical marijuana, business or the safe access to it. So then she tells me that they're super clean. She shows me the presses, she shows me how everything works. And she's just like, it's a really cool situation because she was like, we hand roll them here, we do all these things. And I was super impressed with how complex it is and how clean and sanitary it works on their end because they actually care about who or what they dispense,
Who gets that
right?
medicine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they are taking care of the people, the very people that they're serving. It's not about profit with this distributor. It was not. It was 100% about taking care of the people and using it as medicine, taking the proper protocols to make sure that nothing was cross contaminated, making sure that every strain was labeled correctly, or nothing was mislabeled, or they made sure that even they had all of and when I took a look at it, they even had if it was cross contaminated with peanut, soy, things like that. So they went the extra mile to do half the things that OMMA is not even asking for. So I was pretty impressed, but when I started hearing that it was so unregulated and that all these dispensaries were starting to pop up and it was only $2,000 to even get a license to own a dispensary, everything started making sense to me, Summer. Everything started making sense as to why there was a dispensary on every corner, every little shopping mall, everywhere that they could put a dispensary, they were
Yep.
putting it. And I was just like, well, what's the demand if how are people supposed to make money? How are people who are genuinely putting their all into this and aren't just doing this as a get rich quick scheme? They're doing this because they've studied it. They've taken the time to get to know it, get to know their patients that are coming in. How do we differentiate from these mass popped up dispensaries? And you get to know those dispensaries, and then you'll know.
Mm-hmm.
You'll,
Absolutely. Let's
and
pick this back up. We've got to take a really short break, and then we'll pick back up on the licenses and dispensaries and stuff like that whenever we return. Okay.
okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Hippie.
See
You can
y'all
take.
soon.
aka 420 Kid of the Holistic Cloud. R.I.P. to my man Derek Crumb. I want to give a shout out to Calligraphy, my dude Means, little homie Manuel Noriega, Big Just, Rossi, Jack the Apostle, The League.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em. Big buzz to little crumbs broke up in the bottom. Feel like autumn leaves falling. Only problem needs solving is seeing who I'm calling for some trees to indulge in. Need to holler at Billy, he keep his head in the cloud. Bel Air Kush by the bush, wow. Screaming loud, still smoking, having nice dreams floating through space. So when they ask me how high, my reply, I'm half baked. Sir, smoke a lot. Doctor said I need a bacchiotomy. Prescribe me huckleberry and lemon cherry gelato, G. I take it back to rolling in the Optimo, blowing smoke out my nose, dropping ashes on my clothes till I doze off. I'm so fried, no lie. Got you afraid of heights, scared to look down, you so high. Cause when I spit that shit, it's like I lit that shit in the crowd. Pass it around and let you hit that shit. Weed is all I need. Smoke that weed. Weed is all I breathe. Smoke down leaves, smoke down leaves. Roll up in the leaves for my relief. I'm in love with the THC. Roll that shit, lick that shit, burn it. 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 Roll that shit, lick that shit, burn it.
Good sunshine in my pocket on a Sunday stroll. Homie got the rap, give me the sack, let the good times roll. Therapy, earth, body, and soul. World, give me beef, Bel Air Kush, give me mental control. L-lit, back roll, 5 hats told. The studio we roll, bring relief, we the music, all I need to know. Healthier than pill pop, mother give me earth, a fill spot. My medication can't to a kill shot. Many strands, lay hands in stressful situations. Out of all the girls in my life, Mary Jane, a reservation. Here in 23, raise your hands of liberation. A celebration, history free from information. Stand up, provide the right education. Show love, holistic cloud, politics throughout the nation. Making it stop debating Billy Blunt, stash, flavor, taste the weed. Weed is all I need. Smoke that weed. Weed is all I breathe. Broke down leaves, broke down leaves. Roll up in the leaf for my relief. I'm in love with the THC. Roll that shit, lick that shit, burn it. 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 Roll that shit, lick that shit, burn it.
Hello. We are back, and that was Calligraphy with the song THC. So thank you guys very much. I love their outfits at the end when they're all in like the weed suits.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Right.
They probably don't want me to say it's cute, but I thought it was cute.
It is cute. It's kind of sexy too, but it's cute. So before we went to break, we were discussing the floodgates that were opened whenever State Question 788 was passed in 2018. But because of the low cost of licensing, it drew people from everywhere who wanted to build an empire and be an entrepreneur and be a cannabis, grower, processor, or distributor. So, speaking of cannabis industry, we have 350,000 patient card holders currently, in our state. That's a big community that can be very supportive for the right reasons, And so you talked about how, let's see. So hang on, play back up. Whenever the floodgates opened, it actually led to bad actors, which is the term the OMMA will use. And I crack up when they do that because I tell them that bad actors give really horrible performances. But it opened the gate to bad actors, producing products that were contaminated products. Now, in your bio, you're also a nurse, so tell me how important it is for you as a nurse standpoint, and a candidate standpoint to have access to clean, safe medical cannabis or recreational.
It's super important because our body is so susceptible to so many microbes, organisms, so many bacterias. We're more sensitive to a lot of things than we'll ever know. So a lot of these things, like the microbes, bacteria, organisms, sometimes that are produced within certain plants or certain, like mold, for instance. You can't just eat mold and think that your body is going to agree with it, right? You're going to start throwing up. You're going to start, having increased diarrhea, dehydration, even die from it. So when you don't properly handle materials that are going into your lungs, you are ultimately setting yourself up for one, lung damage. You're setting yourself up for, bigger infections to fight, because our lungs are what clears, well, actually our nose clears out any organisms or any type of bacteria or anything that goes into our lungs, because our lungs are supposed to receive clear oxygen, clean oxygen at that. And so, but ultimately, with contaminants going into your lungs, you're going to be fighting a bigger battle than when you could have just did this safely. You could have just gotten your product safely from somewhere, or, measured, or did the right moisture, humidity, whatever it was. If you just would have did things right, then, you're also not setting yourself up for sickness, but also potential death as well, because we need our lungs to breathe. And contamination is something that has been a big issue that has been brought up, especially within the nurse, when they're talking to me on a nursing level and not just on a candidacy. They're asking me, like, what are the issues that come behind them taking, contaminated products or eating contaminated products, however, inhaling it, ripping it, I don't know, however they want to say it, I'm okay with all of it. But it's more detrimental, and that's why I do believe that the medical marijuana business needs to be regulated by doctors. It does. Um, and it, or nurses, or people, or scientists that actually back this. That's why we
Gotcha.
need it to not be scheduled as a scheduled one, so we can have more money for the resources, or, we're able to get the loans from banks to be able to fund even our own research into our own product.
There's been some conversations in the backgrounds about trying to push for a Schedule 6 for cannabis. Now, that's not coming from the administration. That's coming from, advocacy groups and things like that, who are hoping to be able to create a class of its own that would ultimately later include other categories like psilocybin therapy and stuff like that.
Well, and in my opinion, I don't think that this should be scheduled with heroin or, like morphine. And that's normally, like your schedule 2 drugs would be more of like your Lortabs, like your hydrocodones. And then you'll get your schedule 3. And then your schedule 3 will be like your codeine, your Tylenol 3s, things of that nature. And I may get them all mixed up because it's been like, it's really hard to deal with schedules. It really is.
Right.
All you know is that the schedule ones are the bad ones, right? The ones that are just that people literally turn their nose up to, right? But nonetheless, it should be in the same class that codeine is in. And if I can get access to codeine easily, then I should be able to get access to medical marijuana more easily.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. Heather, I want to bring up Heather for a second. Heather Loveless Davis. And she had sent me a message earlier because I had asked her if there was anything she wanted me to bring up with you while I had you on here today. And she says here, I would like for you to tell her not to give up, that every military spouse is watching her and we are behind her. And thank her so much for just sharing our story. I am impressed by her. My mother is a nurse, so all the aspects of her life that are hard, man, I get it. I'm just so thankful for her and for her running. It's inspired me to consider to run in the future. We need change, and she could well do it. I'm a registered Republican. I set center aisle on most issues, but I think party lines are trash, and that's why I'm voting for her.
I'm over here. I was over here making face. I was like, because I was trying to keep myself from crying because that is incredible. I'm so happy that I'm making that type of impact, especially within all the communities. That's why I say I check every checkbox because every checkbox someone has lived in that shoe.
Mhm.
And I've been there. And I guess that's the beauty about being grassroots, about being a real person, is that you relate to people who may not 100% align, like who may not have the same political views as you, or they may not align the same way. But when you align that one way and you show your authenticity, like then you're the perfect person, and that's across the party lines. And we just saw that she's a registered Republican, and I didn't even know that. Like that
Mhm.
was new news to me, and my reaction to that was absolutely like genuine because I had no idea. But I'm so grateful for her because that's one thing about, and I kind of want to speak on this, and I don't know, I don't want to go over time, but as a military spouse, and I live on post, I live on an army post. So we know that it's federal property, right? And we know that we cannot have, and this is not just on post, this is federal properties in general. We know that we cannot have medical marijuana. We cannot have marijuana, period, on federal properties, right? It's a felony. It's not, there's no questions asked about it. And it's so crazy because I have an instance about a few years ago while I was in nursing school and I was out in Tennessee. I was going to school in Nashville and my husband was stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And I had went out with some girlfriends and we had went to Nashville, and my husband was deployed at the time, and I had two small children at the time too. And so I hadn't had a break because I went to school full time. And then I
Yes.
came home, got my kids, and I was the only parent. So I was putting them down. I was giving them baths, taking them to daycare, picking them up from daycare. And I didn't have time for myself. So my girlfriends finally said, "Hey, we got a babysitter. If you just want to go ahead and bring your kids over here, let's do it." And I said, "Okay, are you sure?" Because my son's autistic and he's kind of hard to deal with at times because of his behaviors. And at the time, before we had gotten well, he was going through his interventions at that time, like ABA and speech therapy, but he was still having those bad behaviors. So anyone that tried to keep him, they just couldn't. So I just really did not get time to myself. But this one time that they found someone that could handle him, I said, "Oh yes, I'm going." We go out to, my friends, they start smoking, and I'm in nursing school, so I could not smoke because of the fact that if I got randomly drug tested, I'm out the program. And we know how hard nursing school's hard it is to get
Mhm.
in. It's very competitive and it's non-transferable. So if I got put out over, having a trace of THC in my urine, I can't restart anywhere, like from where I left off. And plus, I could have a criminal history at that point, right? So
Mhm.
I couldn't do it with them. So, but they had a couple of smokes, and the girl that we went over to her house, we were smoking. She was smoking on federal property. I said, "We." I'm sorry, it wasn't me. They were smoking on federal property. Well, then, as we're moving out, they smoke, like not the driver, but they're smoking in the car. And we go down to Nashville. We're having so much fun. The driver is sober. We're incredibly. I'm in the back seat, and we're just having a great time. We come back on post, and we start getting, as we're going through the gate and we're talking with the gate guards, we start getting questioned about if we've had marijuana. And I'm just like, "Listen, I haven't had it. I don't know, and I'm taking up for my girls. I'm like, I don't know what you're smelling. It was probably just by association." And they just kept saying, "This is federal property. This is federal property. You will go to jail right now. You will get detained right now."
Uh oh, you froze. You froze at getting detained.
So so as we're going through the gate, and of course they think that they're smelling. I'm just letting them know, like, "Hey, this, like it was just by association. Someone that we were at this lounge with probably had it and it just got on us." And, just trying to be the rational one at that
Right.
point. And these are with the gate guards. So we cannot go home unless we go through this gate. So it's not like we can go through anywhere else. So they tell us to get out the vehicle. Get out the vehicle. And they block us. They block the car into the little bay that we drive into. And they're like, get out. And I asked them, I said, are we detained? And what are we detained for? And because you can't detain us for probable cause just because you smell something. I knew my rights. You cannot detain it. I said, unless you have something, you cannot take any of us to jail. Well, it took them a while to get us handcuffed. And I did not. So I have not been to jail, everyone. So I just want to say life happens. But the thing is that the military, they 100% overreact with everything. So even if it was something that, like, I had my conceal and carry and I had my gun on me, if they saw a gun, they're not going to care about your conceal and carry license right then and there. They're going to say, oh, you're coming on post to terrorize. They act first and then they ask questions later.
Yep.
So they put us in handcuffs. And so it took them about an hour. This was a whole adventure from 12 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
All for what they thought was probable cause. So anyway, so because of the fact that there's a different jurisdiction when it comes to being on post, and since it's federal, they can ultimately cite you for probable cause. And I didn't know that until it happened to me. So they cited me for it. And I said, I didn't have it. Like, I don't have anything. I just went out with my girlfriends after being stressed out from, nursing school and being here while my husband is deployed. I'm just having a good time. But I'm getting cited because a gate guard that's not even trained to do any of this is saying that we have marijuana. And regardless, if we have marijuana, it's in our system. It's not in our hand. It's not in our crevices. It's not in our purses. It's not anywhere. It's our system. So what you're trying to tell us that we can't come home because we have it in our system? So I said all that to say this is that I could have been criminalized for that. I could have been 100% criminalized just for being exposed to something while others had it. And it could have ultimately ruined my life. And that shouldn't be a thing because no one was acting out. No one was being defiant. No one was trying to evade any type of, not responsibility. They weren't trying to evade any type of, trouble or the military police. No one was trying to do that. We complied on all levels. Let them search the vehicle, even though they only had a probable cause. They didn't have a search warrant. They didn't see anything in our hands or anything, but we still let them do it at the time because we were just like, we just want to go home. But there should have been no reason that for a plant we should have gone they should have gone that hard at all. So we do need to change the rhetoric around
Yeah.
marijuana.
We
We do.
absolutely do. Let's see. Um, let's see. Oh, you talked of, I saw one of your videos about independence and your post about independence and how independents aren't necessarily, required to be party loyal, to one or the other, but yet, issue, circumstance loyal, and things of that nature. So kind of we need to stress the importance of registering to vote and being active as a voter, because just because you registered to vote, thank you for starting the process. But you need to be an active voter and get out there and vote on the issues that matter to you the most.
And it's your civic duty. Like that is your duty as an American to get out there and help change the dynamic in your community, and not just your community, but even in the nation as a whole. Like, we cannot complain about certain things and certain aspects of our government not working within our favor when you're not getting out and you're not raising your voice about this. Now, I'm not saying you have to take it to the streets. We would love for you to take it to the streets. We would love for you to do what you and your partner did. Go to DC and go try to talk to these people because they're not coming to us. They're not coming to us, ask us what's going on with us. So yes, it's your civic duty to get out there and vote and change that. Do not be an internet warrior. Do not
Yeah.
get out here and be an internet activist and not get things done. You don't even have to give. I'm sorry. This is like I'm so passionate
I
about
love this.
voter.
That's why I wanted to bring it up because people need to understand how important it truly is. Connie Johnson, she was the first one that was stressing it to me. About getting people registered to vote and getting them as active voters. Because a lot of people will register and then they're like, oh, okay, I did. And that's the
Yeah.
end of it. So we need to get them to participate so that we can get different candidates in office.
Yes, but our independent voters are super important. And I'm not just saying that just to win a vote. Like I'm saying this as they are our tiebreakers ultimately. So getting them on your side and getting the independents to actually, how can I say this? Getting them not only on your side, but actually to feel like they're advocated for and that they're wanted within that community. Because that's one thing about independents is that they can lean every which way. They can be conservative, but they still have, like democratic views. But at the same time, they are what they are, independent thinkers, and they want you to come to them with critical thinking skills. They want you to come with real resolutions instead of, what everyone else wants on this side versus this side. It's like I'm right down the middle and I want to hear changes. I want to hear real issues that are going to change the dynamic of our political ecosystem, period. Because we need to be more progressive. Now, the independents, they will be more progressive most of the time. I'm not going to lie to you. They will be. But they don't want to align with one party over the other because I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes, and not right now, sometimes this side may have the worst situations going on versus this side having just even traumatic ones going on. And then you have to kind of meet it, the independents should have to kind of pick the better of the two, if that makes sense, like the lesser of the evil.
That's
And
exactly what I say. Oh my gosh. I say we have to pick the lesser of two evils.
so
Oh,
that's what I was trying to like tend on, Summer. I'm sorry. I was trying to find a way to like walk into it, but it was like without me sounding like I'm just throwing out buzzwords because that's not what I want to do. Like I'm genuine about where I'm coming from. One thing about me is it's coming from the heart. It's coming from experience. It's coming from what I've sat down and talked to people about, not even as a candidate, but even as a regular citizen, like even as a voter on my behalf. Like I have heard so many things about, every which way, but when our independents get involved, that's when things get changed. That's
yeah.
why it's so important. But the thing is the independents don't get taken serious because they don't have an organized party. They don't, like, we see two parties, but we know that independents are there. But
Hmm.
because they're not as organized, and I'm not saying the people aren't organized, but the party in general,
Yep.
it, it's that independents don't get elected as often.
Hmm.
And we need to change that as well because you guys are our tiebreakers. But I should not be saying that as if that's y'all's personality either. Because you're
No
not our tiebreakers. You're citizens. You're our people.
decision makers.
Yes. But that makes y'all super important too. So I just want to also lay that on the line too. Like I would love to be a person that's the decision maker at the end of the day. Like I genuinely
I don't know
I
though,
would love it.
man. I don't envy the people that have that ability, who have that job. I don't envy them for it because I know it's extremely difficult as well and taxing. So, my friend Old School wanted me to ask you what your take was on the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority and eminent domain that's currently an issue in the state of Oklahoma and Norman area.
I'm actually dealing with that right now. I have over a $100 poll. What other
Mhm.
poll? Why I say poll?
Yes.
Tax. Yeah, yeah. I have a tick, not a tick from them, and it's not really a ticket, but it's just because I don't have a pass. And so
Mhm.
when I got it, and I was going back and forth through all those tollways while I was out campaigning heavily this summer. And when
Mhm.
I saw that it was $100, I said $100 just for me to drive, just for me to drive. Like it's ridiculous. And it's way too expensive. It's one of those things where is the money going to? Because I still see that these roads are tore up. These roads have been worked on for years.
Horribly.
Summer, they have been on the same road, the same tollway, okay,
Mm-hmm.
for like 15 years now, and we
Mm-hmm.
only see them change out a sign every now and then.
Mm-hmm. In
But my
Tulsa,
point
we
is,
have. Oops, sorry.
go
In
ahead.
Tulsa, we have the Stonehenge, which is, it's been built to be made, but there's nothing there.
It it's ridiculous to me, and it should, like, we should be able to see where our taxes are going into, and we should be like, if we're going to be paying taxes into the state, we should be able to physically see it if we're not feeling the changes of where our tax money is going. So I should be able to see SNAP benefits, people not being hungry. I should be able to not have to worry if my car is knocked out of alignment on a tollway that I'm paying $100 for passing just a few times this summer.
Nope.
I should be able to go to a national park for free.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If I'm paying taxes into my state, I also should be able to have a say so in how I can maneuver that money. And when I say that, a lot of people, this is, it gets pretty difficult. But I'm not saying like I should be able to say like, hey, my money should go into SNAP here. But I should be able to go and ask them like, what are you doing right now besides knocking the Mario coin out of my car with your roads?
Sorry. We go karting and we reference Mario stuff when we're go karting all the time. So you did that.
Confirmation. Yes.
Excuse me.
But I do. I wanna be able, because I will be on the federal level. So, and I get this question a lot about how can I help the Oklahomans on the federal level since you're not going to be state. You can't change the tollways. You can't change how much it is, but I can advocate on behalf of it. I can work with my leaders, my elected leaders that are in Oklahoma. Sit down with them and just say, how can we work on this federally together? What type of
Mm-hmm.
legislation that you and I could out, because that's one thing that our state leaders complain about now is that they do not have access to federal leaders. They
No.
can't just call them up and say, hey, can we? They can't. They
I
can't.
got it. Can I talk to you about it?
Yeah. And there should be no reason why they're being gatekept from another person that was elected by the same people that elected them. Do you
Mm-hmm.
understand? So
Mm-hmm.
that's a big thing that's a barrier that I'm going to break. I'm going to break that we don't have access to our leaders. Our leaders should not have access to our state leaders should not have sorry, I'm getting all tongue tied, so I apologize.
It's
Our state leaders should not have access to our federal leaders.
okay.
And
Right.
also our constituents. When we hear from our constituents, we should be able to have a list of people from different areas. Like, let's say, so you're in Tulsa, right? Because I keep hearing
Mm-hmm.
Tulsa, so I'm making sure. Okay, so Tulsa. So if I'm getting 50 billion calls from Tulsa a day, right, and they're wanting to speak on behalf of something, then I know what I need to be doing. I need to be making a town hall in
Yep.
Tulsa.
Yep.
If I can't call them all individually because there's not enough time in a day to talk with some of these, because we know some people are short and sweet, but we know there's a lot of people that has a lot of issues, right?
Right.
And you could talk to them for hours
Mm-hmm.
and not get anything out of it. And I'm just gonna be honest, because I'm that way sometimes too. I'm probably like that way right now. But you can address them all if you just set up a town hall.
Mm-hmm.
So I should be able to have my staffers. So say when I get elected, I should be able to have my staffers go ahead and pull all those things on Excel. Pull all those people and pull them different places. And I say pull them, but like geographically locate them and say, hey, we have 80 people that called in Tulsa today. We have
Mm-hmm.
5 from Ardmore, and we have 5 from McAllister because I'm from Ardmore, Oklahoma, which I didn't get to say that in the beginning. Born, bred, and raised. Graduated from Ardmore High School in 2013. I'm 30, so I just had to get that one out the way. Um, but yes, so and then say there's 5 in Lawton. You know, I know that I have 80 people in Tulsa that are obviously mad about something, so I need to get to them before I get to the 5 in Lawton or the 5 in Ardmore and the 8 in McAllister or where I said earlier. And that's how I'm going to work because I feel like that's the most feasible way and also the most logical way to work this when I'm serving for you guys. You don't serve me. I serve you. You pay, you would pay my salary. You would pay my salary. And anybody that pays my salary, I'm taking a knee for. I don't mean it in that way, but I mean my community. I'm not up there. Not up there. But
Yeah.
I'm putting you guys first because it's unfair that we have to fight the things that we have to fight without having someone to back us, someone who's bigger than them, bigger than all of us. And I say bigger than all of us because we know that our legislators they can change anything in a drop of a pin
Yeah.
and button.
Yeah. So can the old mame.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm so sorry that I got on a tangent about everything else because I
Oh.
really just wanted to say, um, I had statistics, I had all these things pulled up because I made sure that I brushed myself up on all the information that I had even gotten from the distributor. And she is 100% reputable. But I wanted to do the research on my own. So I didn't get to do that with you guys because, one, we're having so much fun. But two, it's the misconception and the misrepresentation with the medical marijuana, or even recreational marijuana. It's just so much stigma behind it that when I was doing my research and I was jotting it down last night, I said there's so many things that need to be researched here. And then when I was watching a video, they had said that because it's a Scheduled One drug, they cannot really fund it for research.
That's correct.
When I told you, I said, well, that's dangerous. That's fully dangerous because if we're not researching things before we're actually putting it out on the market, that can cause even more detrimental health disparities or even deaths if we're not regulating it. And we kind of hit on the popping up of the mass on the mass dispensary things. It's just not regulated enough. And the $2,000 a license, ridiculous. It should be more than that. And I'm sorry to say that, but I think that maybe medical marijuana should be gate kept. If it's going to be a Schedule One drug, then we should treat it as a Schedule One drug, right? We should be able to just pull up all these dispensaries because what if there was a pharmaceutical company that started just dispensing Percocets?
Right. Yeah, I think that the dispensaries are actually pretty heavily regulated at this point, and the industry itself is heavily regulated. We just have a lot of scrupulous players or, things that happen that shouldn't have happened, like this recent situation with the lab, where it was a yeast and mold situation, but, OMA hasn't been transparent about why it went on for 28 months, there was issues. And so we need to address a lot of stuff about OMA. You and I could talk for hours about that, agency and the issues within the agency. And there are hundreds of people in this community that would, reach out and tell you their, unfortunately traumatic PTSD stories that involve the agency. So, but yeah, I think the dispensaries are, pretty heavily regulated already. I think we just need to get the bad actors to quit producing horrible medicine and making people sick.
Well, and I feel and this is just me thinking out loud. I just feel like if it was as heavily regulated as it's supposed to be, then we would have a doctor that would be able to do check. If this is medicine, if we're
Yeah.
talking about this being medicine,
Mhm.
and we are scheduling it as medicine, because I can't just walk in to a doctor and go get a prescription for oxycodone. I just can't just walk in and just be like, hey, I have to jump through hoops to get that because it's heavily regulated. And also, a doctor has to give me that prescription. Whereas, you can get a license from a doctor, but a doctor also oversees your health after that as well. Like they ask you about your bowel movements, they ask you about, if you're urinating well. Because one thing that we know about scheduled drug is that they can constipate you, and two, they also cause urinary retention, which means ultimately that you can't pee. You can't pee. So that's why you have to have scheduled check-ins every 3 months if you're getting these scheduled pain medications. Is because you
Right.
have to get your body, you have to get your blood pressure because it can mess with your blood pressure. This is the same thing that medical marijuana can do as well, because remember, it's medical. So we need a medical doctor that's on board. We need healthcare professionals that are researchers, are not just people with, we need community leaders to come in and just also be the liaisons for our patients and also our dispensaries and our distributors. We need that. But we need a doctor. We need a doctor to be going around and making sure that these dispensaries, the bad actors, I'm not saying all dispensaries because there's incredible dispensaries,
Right.
but
Correct. Yeah.
yes, and we need and they need a. It's not as regulated as we think it is when it comes to the health portion, but also when it comes to food, the edibles. So we need a person that's, and I would say a food critic, but someone that's with the a dietitian, because we have people who are diabetic who are eating these edibles. Like, who to say how much is actually in here? We need more people to regulate this, because we also know that medical marijuana could either heighten your blood sugar or it can drop your blood sugar. So we need these healthcare specialists in here so it can be better. It can be better. It
I
can be
think they
better.
people that need to be on staff at the OMA, because the OMA recently said that they were going to create a patient services division. And I think that you're 100% on track there. They need to have, say, like a doctor or a nurse on staff who can even answer patient questions about cannabis consumption that may be affecting them either adversely or negatively. So,
Yes. There
yeah.
should not be just a random person and there should be a person of the community being able to, like I said, advocate.
Hmm.
And I don't want to say lobby, because we don't want lobbyists.
Represent.
Yes, represent, that represents the community as a whole. But we definitely need professionals in this sector. So we won't have things like mold growing. We won't have things such as, spores coming about, like unknown spores at that. If we had pretty much health inspectors like we do restaurants, and I know that they do have those, but I just feel like at the same time they're not coming around enough, because it's been going on for 28 months. This is not
Yep.
8 months. This is not 8 days. This is 28 months.
Yep.
Somebody's not doing their job, and I would just regulate that.
This isn't the first time this has happened either. There was an incident that happened in 2023 with a recall that the products on that one went all the way back to 2021. So, I mean, this is a pattern at this point of their inability to protect the patients in a timely and appropriate manner. And I think the agency needs to be restructured at the very least, if not just alleviated, and build a new program.
Summer, so let me ask you this, because this may be just be a dumb question, but whose responsibility is it for a so let's say a doctor notices that a woman has been battered, right? And he knows that with women being battered, most of the time they're afraid to speak up because their batterer lives in the home with them, or they're their caretaker, or there's certain stipulations, right? Whose job is it to report that woman being battered to the police or to the State Department, or anywhere that they deem is, or let's say it's a child too. So like a woman and a child, they need to report it to DHS as well, right? So they can get them out of that position. So whose job between that woman and that child and doctor, whose job is it to report that? Who's the mandatory reporter?
The doctor.
The doctor. So if we had a provider that was on staff taking care of these things, they would be a mandatory reporter to make sure that these things wouldn't happen. We would have more open reports about things. If we had more people that actually went out and tested these things outside of leaving it up to people, just random people that are doing this. And I say random people, it's just because it's not that they've let it just go on for so long that it just makes me think that they don't know what they're doing. Whoever's supposed to be doing this. And that's just me being honest. I'm sorry if I offend anyone, but sorry, not sorry. Just it's not giving regulated. It's giving here. Y'all begged for this. Damn, take it. Take
Currently,
it. Y'all.
currently the agency is led by attorneys.
Yeah. So that obviously gives you everything that you need to know, because what do attorneys want?
To protect their assets.
And also buy them new assets too. And who puts the money in their pockets?
Well, on this occasion, we do.
So with that being said, if we're putting money into this business, if we're paying fines to OMA, if we're also having to, and you can educate me more. This is just all the information that I've gotten from, my distributor when I talked with her, and I bet she just thought that I didn't remember any of this, but I did, and I love it. But it's their job to know, as attorneys and people who know what medical is, and has worked in medical, like when I say work, like maybe did like a HIPAA setting, like in a healthcare setting for law. They know what they need. It's about holding them accountable. Like, one thing about attorneys is they don't get held accountable enough.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. Gotta
No,
hold them accountable.
Yep. Well, Jasmine, let's plug some of your socials in here so people can follow you. So I know that your website is at www.jasmine4ok.com, 4 being spelled out FOR. And then how about some of your social media links, TikTok, stuff like that?
Yes. So I am N'Kiyla Jazmine Thomas for U.S. Senate 2026 on Facebook. I'm N'Kiyla for OK, Instagram. I think N'Kiyla for Oklahoma on Instagram. TikTok, X, Blue Sky, YouTube, and there's one more, Threads. I am N'Kiyla for OK. So I'm the only N'Kiyla for OK that I know of, so it shouldn't be hard to miss.
And N'Kiyla is spelled out, just in case they need it.
Yes, it's N as in November, K Kilo, I Indigo, Y Yankee, L Lima, A Alpha, and then last name Thomas, just typical Thomas spelling.
All right. And guys, make sure that you go hit the like, follow, subscribe, whatever the buttons are on each of those platforms, because you're going to want to be following this story. I want to keep up with you, and of course, I'm going to want to interview you again as you continue down the progress of your campaign. And I just wish you to have the best success with that journey, and I appreciate you being pro-cannabis. I look forward to being able to have somebody in the federal framework that's willing to have those conversations with us. So.
Thank you for having me, and I'll just finish, if you don't mind me, I'll just finish off with like my name is N'Kiyla Jazmine Thomas, and I am running for the U.S. Senate seat against Markwayne Mullin in Oklahoma as a Democrat, and I look forward to hearing from you and also being able to service you for the next 6 years after 2026. So hope to see y'all there. Beat me there, don't meet me there. Bye.
Woo! Yeah, baby. All right, guys. Much love, one love, and we will catch you guys later.
Stepping up strong with a righteous plea. Summer Parker fighting for you and me. Patients need what the doctor has said. Safe access now to the meds they spread. One love, one fight, don't you delay. Rights for the people in every way. We stand tall, we won't back down. Safe access is the anthem sound. If access is the anthem sound. The struggle is real, so is the fire for health and hope. We climb higher, stand with the ones who can't stand alone. For every voice deserves a throne. Compassion lead where the laws resist. A healer's heart can coexist with barriers blocking what we deserve. The people's needs must be preserved. One love, one fight, don't you delay.